freaking, I don't know, just top 10 in general over a few years. I really like IO games, especially coming from my background professionally, working at Free MMO Station, where I reviewed a lot of games that were similar to this. Back then, we didn't call them IO games because Agario was the one that made that really popular. We just called them browser-based games. You know, I played a lot of browser-based MMOs, browser-based competitive games such as Little War Game. We also had Tag Pro, which is really fun. Now you would probably properly categorize those as IO games, which, like, nobody knows what that stands for. I think, like, kind of like Urban Dictionary, we turned it into interactive online, which wouldn't be incorrect. They're interactive online stuffs and things, games. But yeah, anyways, so IO games are browser-based games and stuff. You can actually play them on mobile devices. They generally work pretty well. Some of them have default apps. And really, it's basically like games that are totally inclusive for anybody. Any way, anyhow, that is their concept. You can play them anywhere, on any machine, essentially, and have a good time, and it's free. Open and free. I don't think there's any paid IO games. If there are, that's kind of against the concept, I think, the core values of what it means to be an IO gamer. But regardless, they should be free, open, played on anywhere, anyhow, all the time. And that's genuinely the gorgeous beauty of it. Now, I played a lot of browser games, starting out with RuneScape as the first one, and moving on through, obviously, with Free MMO Station, played a lot. And of course, that was for work and for fun. But now, as I was forced to kind of play a lot of these, man, my horizons were expanded so drastically, and I was having so much fun. Even with just Agar. Agar is like the grandfather. It was the, like, pretty much the originator that kind of made IO games what they are today. And I mean, there, of course, before that, there were other browser games. There were similar games even to Agar. But I'm just saying, Agar was like the one that blew it up, right? And I mean, I played all these different kinds, and now, of course, I'm playing like what you would debate are the mainstream IO games. But like, it is so fun to go and just have these little bite-sized online experiences that you're not gonna get anywhere else. Which, I mean, that's kind of stupid saying that, because IO games are so prolific and you can play them anywhere, anytime. So yeah, anyways, basically, like, IO games, what they are, in many people's eyes, are just that. They're basically like those little tiny arcade mobile games that like you play for one time and then you're done. You won and done it, like, instantly. You play it for a minute and you delete it. Kind of like that. They are kind of like that, but they have a little bit extra more substance because they are online games. Not only that, but generally, actually, IO games can have competitions. They can legitimately be competitive. Like actual tournaments, guys, that are streamed and have viewers. Have you seen the views on YouTube for these kind of games? Did you know that freaking Slitherio has toys in like Hot Topic and Target? Like, I think it's about time that people stop seeing these games as like minimalistic, miniaturized MMOs or whatever, and start actually taking them seriously. Because once you got toys, dude, it's something to be taken seriously. These games, which might seem very simple on the surface, actually have a ton of tactics underneath it. I mean, it literally might seem like you're just, you know, hovering your cursor around as your little blob follows your mouse and you slowly move around. But no, there's little tiny micro mechanics. There's little tiny social interactions that actually make this whole thing just like explode out and made it so freaking popular. Otherwise, these games would have been around for a while, but it was really only recently when browsers, PCs in general, internet in general, was able to really kind of push these kind of games out into debatably the mainstream, really allowing people to be, well, I mean, their machines, any Chromebook really can be playing these games, $100 and anything, and everybody should also at the same time be having these machines for work or school or what have you, or just daily life, man. You should have a smartphone, you should have a device capable of playing these games, internet speeds capable of playing these games, and as well now, I think culturally, we are more accepting of general video gaming and gamers and just the idea of going out and finding a good game, right? The idea of like read a book a day. What about watch a movie a day? What about play a different game every day? And you know what genre would fit that perfectly? Freaking IO games. And you know what? I actually think they are fun to kind of keep coming back and replay, especially because they're free. Anybody can play them anytime, so you can bring friends in. Bring friends in and play IO games, and it is just such a stupid blast. Now, you might have heard me say some of these words before in my top 10 lists. The ideology of playing an IO game is the ease of access and being able to jump in, but at the same time of being easy to get into and that ease of access, the low barrier of entry. IO games are also allowed that sort of edge of experimentation, things that you don't get in other titles, such as Deep.io with the evolving animals and fish and shark and squids and things, and it has like this weird ecosystem and stuff. But then, you know, because it's an IO game, they can just slam in like a bunch of weird game modes, and there's a legitimate like fighting game mode in Deep.io, which has like crazy stuff based on the different, you know, animals that you can choose, which I actually put in a top 10 free-to-play fighting game list. Yeah, which, I don't know, it really actually does work out. It's very strange. There's a lot of other IO games like a Bonk.io, which you can make custom maps and things, and of course, you know, the maps are rotating so quickly, you're playing all these different player-generated maps, and it's such a simple concept. And that's what all IO games are. They're these really simple, original concepts, but because they can be played anywhere by anybody, they get a lot of popularity, they have a lot of user feedback, you know, that really fuels an online game, and it makes it explode outward, and literally you're seeing that in these IO games becoming way more than what originally they were meant to be, or really what you would think could be. And that's what I'm talking about, is what we think IO games are and could be is wrong. IO games are so much bigger than any random average person realizes. IO games have so much more potential even past that, and that's why I'm super excited. I'm a big fan of, you know, joining the communities for like Android gaming. Yes, I'm a PC Master Racer, but I still really love innovation in minimalistic ways. You know, pixel art is a big example. Voxel art, low poly art, things like that is really sexy to me, right? So we take these really bare bones concepts and we flesh them out in very specific ways for very specific people, seemingly. But here's the kicker: we create that weird niche game technically, but instead of making it super overpriced, super expensive, or trying to, you know, kind of aesthetic it, you know, art it and design it in such a gross way to create an engrossed niche of players, fuck that. No, none of that. Just give it to the general public, you know? Because what I'm really a nerd about is game design, the gameplay, the game mechanics, and playing with other players. I don't need some super crazy graphics, despite what some of my videos might seem, is what I'm saying. That's not true. I don't need that. I don't need all that fluff. I don't need all the crazy advertisement. You know, I just want the core of it, the root of it. I really want the punch, which to me is the gameplay. I want to play online with people. I want to have some weird, wacky times. And you know what genre can do that? That is .io games, which technically actually isn't really a genre. It's just like a platform in a way. I mean, it's sort of like in the probably in the most vague way, it's a genre, but not really. There's so many different kinds. There are literal fighting IO games lists. There's racing IO games. You know, there's fighting team-based survival IO games. There's so many different kind of IO games, and I will be doing list videos on those. And if you want to see them, I will link in a comment below. I got some cool games you guys want to check out. Abso-freaking-lutely, I don't deny my love for IO games, and I won't debate that a lot of you guys would really appreciate what I have in those videos as well. But at the same time, there is an argument that these games are just small little titles. You know, they don't have nearly the polish that maybe they should be to be properly competitive. They don't have nearly enough meat and taters to be called AAA, whatever that even means. And you know what? I think that's actually kind of beautiful, is if you don't go out there and if you're unafraid to fail, you know, if you don't go out there and mess up or an experiment, you're never gonna really have that Minecraft, right? You're never gonna have those games that just blow up and explode. And we've had a lot of indie games, more and more, that have, you know, they've been able to do that. They start with a small idea, they do early access, they do crowdfunding, what have you, and they do good. Now imagine that if there's no barrier to entry, right? There is none. It's just a bunch of people all together having fun. It's a free game. They might have advertisements. You know, these IO game developers, maybe they go off and make multiple IO games, make a family of IO games, what have you, and players are all circulating through them, and then just the whole genre, or, you know, the IO game space is becoming more and more popular because of it, and then you can sell merchandise, like Slither.io. You can sell toys. You can make kids happy outside of your game. Your game now suddenly as small as it was. Basically, an online snake. You know, not the most original idea, seemingly, but in practice, when you're actually playing it, the community that it creates, the YouTube videos, all that, the streams, the players together, that feeling is definitely something very unique. And a lot of big games could have done something like that. A lot of big names could have been producing stuff like this, but they were afraid to fail. So these developers, these pioneers, man, are going out there on the frontier of .io and supposedly taking small little steps, making small little games. But you know what, guys? I don't think it is so small. I think it is so much bigger. These are leaps for mankind, essentially. That is going to make all of us a little bit closer. It's going to make the world a little bit smaller and much more massively bigger. The horizons expanding for us. At least in terms on the browser here, and I think it's really exciting. So if you don't feel quite the same way, I can give you a bunch of games to play, to try out, and that's the only way you can really realize, obviously, they're games, right? You got to play them, what I'm talking about, and feel what I'm feeling, and hopefully you do, because they're online games, so let's feel together, yeah? All right, so the list in the description and in the comments, and I will be pumping out way more, but I'm going to end the video by asking, what is your favorite .io game? Or you can give me a list, man. Make your own top 10 list, share it out, and maybe I'll